Hi class, in this video I'll walk through how to graph a continuous variable with a histogram. So to recap, I have this variable pages and it's a collection of data. We want to graph it. We want to use a histogram, and the function for that is hist. So I'm going to type hist and then use parentheses and then tell R what to draw a histogram for. So this is going to be for the variable pages that I created. Because this is a variable that I just created in the environment, it's not attached to a data set. I can just type the name of the variable. Later on, we're going to be working with variables that are part of data sets, and so you'll need to specify what data set you're working with, but we'll take care of that later. I just hit enter, and it runs down here. Although I really should have, gotten in the habit of typing it up here, hist pages, and then done my command enter to return it, just so I can save my work. Here you see it's drawn a graph. Ta-da! Here I have the frequency, and then here I have sort of the groups, sort of these buckets or breaks. Whereas I can see 6 individual counts were between 10 and 15 pages. Looks like there was one between 25 and 30, and one between 30 and 35. And so the histogram, again, like you lose some information. I don't know exactly what these 6 values were. I don't know if this was 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I'm sort of losing some information about this individual as well. But I can tend to see patterns. I can see that most of the pages are on this lower end, and there's a few on this higher end over here, sort of like a gap in the middle here. I don't know how super relevant that is to my knowledge of this variable, but I can see a pattern in the data, and that is really useful when graphing. So we'll use graphs a lot. I mean, graphing is one of the most important things we can do with data. I'm going to spend a little bit more time. Oftentimes we want to change things about the graph. We can change this default function with something called an argument. And an argument is almost like you're arguing with R. We can say, well, you wanted to label the x-axis as pages, but I want to make that capitalized P. Let's make it look a little more professional. And so I can change that setting and say, well, I want the x label to equal. And if I just type pages here and I run this, I'm going to get an error message. And R says, hey, I don't understand what pages is. It's treating this like a variable, like an object. If we're giving it something that is meant to be an instruction for what it should report or print, we got to use quotation marks here. And so if I run this, then it changes that to a capital P pages. Let's, say also notice the graph starts at 10, but maybe I should start at 0, right? It could be 0 pages. And so I can change those X limits. This default goes from 10 to 35, since that's the range of my data, or 32 rather. But I want to give it a broader range. And so I'm going to say, well, I want the X limit to start at 0 and go all the way to 35. And I'm using the C function here to combine 2 coordinates, where I want the X limit to start and where I want it to end. If I run this, you can see that it changes that instruction. And so, here this is another advantage of using a script, is I can change these instructions. I can say, well, it should go from 0 to 100. And that really sort of changes my scale across the entire thing. That's the entire range of the graph. All right, I can do the same with the Y limit. Let's say, Y limit equals C. Let's say I want to go from 0 to 10 for whatever reason. Not an obvious reason to do that for this type of data, but sometimes you do want to change the Y limits. You can do that, and it, again, changes that scale. The title often, let's say I don't really want the title there. And you notice I'm kind of running out of space here on my script, so I could keep typing and it will wrap around. I could also just hit enter here, and it kind of like moves it over to the next tab. Sort of good convention to leave it as a comma here, so people reading this understand there's more to the command. I can change another argument, main equals, let's change it to be, like histogram with 4 exclamation points, and that does it. You can also just get rid of a title by changing those quotation marks to be empty. That gets rid of it, sort of creates empty space there. I like histogram though. Good. Yeah, there we go. All right, and then finally, maybe you want to change the color. It's just another setting, color equals. If I type in blue, again, it doesn't know what that is. It's not a variable. If I want it to be blue, I put it in quotation marks. RStudio does a nice little thing where it sort of shows you what that color is going to look like. I don't know why it's an extra there, but I can see it's going to cause an error. That sort of red X there says, hey, there's an unmatched opening bracket. Something's not working correctly. So I need to delete that extra quotation mark. And if I run this, it becomes blue. My graph becomes blue. It's like sky blue. Ooh. All right, there we go. Go Bears. Cool. That's a histogram. We're going to keep working with this. We'll get a lot of practice with it. Hopefully this video was helpful.